Welcome back to another video. I am going to be telling you some Reddit stories today. Something that you only understand if you have lived it. Before we get started, I appreciate you watching and listening. And if you don't mind, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. And here we go. Ready? Something you only understand if you have lived it. Let's get serious right off the top here. Poverty. Yeah. Being in a war zone in any capacity. Yeah, I would imagine it's very hard to explain that sort of situation if you've never lived it. How truly debilitating and lonely severe mental illness is. I will never ever understand why mental illnesses are glamorized or ignored. We're always talking about, well, you got to get your body in good shape and you've got to do this and that, but very few people actually want to talk about the mental health aspect of trying to get your mind, your whole person in a better state. I realized a lot of things after the breakup of a relationship, after 14 years together. And it's usually a eye-opener. Working in customer service. Holy crap, I feel that in my soul. Being a parent. The mind fuckery of addiction. Abuse. Creating art, painting, drawing. An abusive relationship. Sure, logic says just leave the person, but it isn't that easy. The battle between brain and heart is very real. Yeah. As you get older and start losing your looks, people start ignoring you. So you've got to have a good sense of self and also a good sense of humor when it happens. Realizing your inner self-confidence is key. I'm speaking as a woman who used to be considered quite good looking. In some ways, having that attention taken away is kind of a relief as well. But it can be unsettling. I hope this doesn't come off as conceited. It's not meant to be. No, I completely agree. I think there's a lot of people, male, female, whatever, that would agree as well that, the older you get, youth is wasted on the young. And the older you get, whether it's looks or personality or just, determination, whatever you're doing, people tend to get overlooked the older they get. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, good or bad. It's just that seems to be a reality that a lot of people have to deal with, are dealing with, and will eventually deal with. Having a narcissistic parent. The pure exhaustion of trying to function on zero sleep after a sleepless night. Yeah, been there, done that numerous times. Cancer. Yeah, I would have to agree that I can't imagine all that. I don't want to imagine it, and good luck. Being a mother, and I'm going to add being a father, being a parent, period, is one of the most difficult things. It's rewarding too, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not, but it's difficult. One thing that's hard to truly understand unless you've lived it is the experience of the deep grief. Whether it's losing a loved one, going through a major life change, or dealing with any kind of profound loss. The emotions that come with it can be incredibly complex and overwhelming. Yes, and it's very individual. It's very a personal thing. Some people are far more able to deal with the loss of a grief of loss, but it hits everybody differently, and there's no way to know how it's going to hit you until it actually does. So bless you for that one. Being sexually abused as a child. I can't even begin to imagine how that affects stuff. Again, if you've listened to my videos, you know that my family, we try to do fostering, and that was one of the main things. You have to be able to deal with that, and it's a lot. Having it be a personal situation in their lives, in your life, I don't want to know, obviously, but I feel so much for people like that because my mother was a victim, my best friend was a victim, my nieces was a victim. It's just, I've seen how it affects them, how it did affect them, how it still affects them, and it's devastating. So no, unless you've been there, I can't, I don't think anybody will ever understand it until they've been through it. Losing a parent or both, especially at an early age. I still have my dad, but I lost my mother many years ago. I was an adult. My little sister was still in college, and it definitely messed with her. The suicide of somebody you love, or what having paranoid delusions is like. Lived through both. Ooh. Chronic pain. You've experienced pain before, so if you think you get it, but nothing prepares you for when pain becomes the new baseline normal. No, it doesn't. And there's no way to explain it. There's no way to get other people to understand that you're just in constant pain. It affects your mood. It affects your reality. It affects everything about you. And there's no getting rid of it. At least that I've found. Military life. It's easy to be against the military as an institution as well as the military industrial complex. And that's completely fair, but reality is, surprisingly, more nuanced than that. No matter how idealistic we might like to consider ourselves, society is nowhere near beyond the need of having armed forces, and the people in them are not all fanatics or warmongers. They're people like you and me and everyone else who form a special bond through mutual strife that isn't like anything else you may experience in civilian life. And I may be against pointless wars and profiteering from wars, or against the military as an institution with inherent faults in its design, but I do not hate the people in it. That's what really makes it special and really matters. I agree. Same thing, honestly. I mean, I'm not trying to piggyback on this, but law enforcement and other people who put their lives on the line and choose to do this service for their country, for their community. I realize there's bad eggs everywhere, but there's also good eggs everywhere. So having a brother that is a true monster, but the nicest, most empathetic and kindest and thoughtful person to his family. The stuff he did haunts me today, but then the other side of him was the best person I ever met. Oof. That's tough. Emotional abuse and suicide of a child. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Yeah. War's not great. How idiotic American society is getting. Although I don't even understand it all now. Yeah, it is. There's some days you're just like, how the hell do people even wipe yourself? Communism. How the brain works after a CVA. Only if you did psychedelica, you can grasp it a little. How taste tastes different, or words you say don't mean what you say. Paralyzing fear. Yeah. Having a child die. Yeah. I've never had that happen. Miscarriages, but that's not the same, obviously. I'm not putting that in the same category at all, but bless you. Communist society, socialist regime. It looks good on paper, but you have to live it to really know how bad of an idea it is, how miserable your life is under their rules. That's why people were risking their lives jumping over the Berlin Wall or rafting through the Florida Straits to escape it. That's what I always come back to, is like, if it is so great, how come people are risking their lives, their children's lives, their families' lives to get out of it? You got to stop and think about, again, it may look good on paper, it may sound good, but until you live it, you don't know. Victim of narcissistic emotional abuse. There's another cancer. Mental illness, enduring the ups and downs while trying to keep a job, stay married, it's damn difficult. You move from job to job and relationships to relationships because they last mostly. You're solo. Even your family doesn't want to understand in the end. They have to deal with it by yourself. That's all you could do. No bullshit. I'm sorry. Wish you had a better support system there, dude. Birth. People can tell you all you want, but you have no idea what birth is going to feel like until you're there. Yeah. Not ever having a family. Sometimes that's not horrible, though. Depends on the family you've got. Being in an active combat area, genocide. Wow, that one's deep. Sexual, physical abuse, and the PTS that often comes with it. Chronic illness and disability. The love that you feel for your kids. Sorry, a pet does not count. That's what they said, not me. Addiction. Losing a pet while you have your whole adulthood only with them. Ooh, that's tough. Child pass away from nothing and perish to the heart. Like, yeah. near-death experience, being a victim of domestic violence, disagreed unemployment, or degreed disemployment. I'm not quite sure what that means. Heroin addiction. Oh, being kidnapped by a stranger as a child. Holy crap. That's having depression. It's not something you think you can just get over. Preach, 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 preach. Chronic pain, incarceration, true nonstop chronic pain. This one has a list. Parenthood, addiction, cancer, mourn, love, sex. Having an autoimmune disorder, the exhaustion and constant symptoms. Ooh, yeah. Frozen in time grief and grieving someone who is still alive. Wow. Losing your partner. I lost my husband of 30 years after a long illness last year. The amount of people who said, I know how you feel to me when they still have their fucking partner still infuriates me. I'm okay. I'm still working with a grief counselor. I'm moving forward as best I can. Yeah, that pain never goes away. I have not lost a partner. Don't think that's what I'm saying. But I've seen it with my father. My father never recovered, and it's been many, many years. That's some people. That's the way it is. Fertility challenges. The Carter administration. I know we have a very divisive country right now, but this is different. The U.S. was in a very bad place on so many levels, and the impacts were immediate. Double-digit inflation for years, problems with his own party, Olympic boycott, energy crisis, hostages, high unemployment, etc. You know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, I'm not trying to do a political thing, but just saying, until you've lived through that kind of situation, whether it's a societal or a cultural or a political, because I tried to explain that to somebody else I worked with. They were talking about how obsessed people were with, or are, with the Trump. And I'm like, do you not remember the Obama thing where teachers were composing songs for their kids? I mean, it's different, yes. But until you've lived through that situation, you've kind of seen it all before. But it's funny, you know, obviously younger people don't remember the Clinton era. They don't remember the Reagan era. They don't remember all, you know, whichever era you want to talk about. But it is interesting how speckled people's reality can become like that. My therapeutic boarding school that is now being investigated by the FBI. Oh my goodness. It's amazing how no one in the world understands that when you talk to other survivors and they understand. We have a couple of Facebook groups that act in a decent support network. Good. I'm really, really glad. How difficult it is to teach. My brain is like an old-fashioned switchboard with every wire plugged in and every operator busy. When private sector interviewers ask me what skills I bring to a relatively straightforward job openings, I realize the reality of teaching is lost on most people. My best friend works at a school. She's not a teacher. She's a therapist. But she's always said, you know, teaching is a calling. And if you don't have it, you can't do it. And I believe that because, you know, I think we've all had good teachers. We've had bad teachers. We've had people that probably shouldn't be teaching. And some that actually would be probably pretty awesome at it. But whatever. Mount St. Helens eruptions in Yakima, Washington. Ooh, yeah. Raising well-adjusted kids is hard as fuck. Is as hard. Yes. Trying to make sure you don't fuck up your own kids. That's difficult. Child custody. The pain of an ovarian cyst rupturing. Ooh. My sister went through that. Epilepsy, seizures, and medical trauma. Domestic violence in a relationship. How painful a tiny kidney stone can be. Feeling suicidal. Dealing with a major failure or setback. Daily, my friend, daily. Being part of indigenous people. Losing a breast to cancer. Then having a total hysterectomy 2 months later. Oh my goodness. What it's like to actually be poor, not knowing where my next meal is coming from. Yeah. See that a lot on this one. The death of a parent or the death of both parents. My mom suddenly at 58 and my dad 5 years later at 65 of lung cancer. The best way I can describe it, how I feel, is that I feel untethered, like a balloon that has been let go and has no real hold on the earth, just floating around. I hope you get some help, man. That's tough. Going abroad alone to a different country, different language, different culture, different thinking from where you were living all your life. And yeah, staying there for 3 or 4 years straight and then going back to where you came from initially. That culture shock, wow, yeah, eye-opening, perhaps culturally significant and more enlightening, but it's got to be a shock. Racism, it doesn't feel nice. I think everyone can agree with that one. Invisible disability, the suicide of a loved one. Teen angst, heartbreak, being completely broke, losing a much-loved pet or very important person close to you. A ruptured fallopian tube, medical negligence. Ooh, ugh. Living life as an adopted person. Wow. Infertility. Panic attacks. You can't comprehend the physicality of these unless you're experiencing them. They're terrifying, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle. Worst part is that when you start to feel like it, you feel like your mind is cracking. Childhood abuse. Putting socks on your cold feet, freshly out of the dryer. Psychedelics are crazy. Sometimes having divorced parents is better. Depending on the parents, depending on the situation, yeah. Pregnancy and childbirth. Here's one. Love. Yeah, I can get behind that. How abusive someone can be if they pay for everything for you. Yes, you live an easier life, but it's certainly not easy. PTSD. Ooh, having your wife die in your arms. I'm so sorry about that. Mine is not as serious as other responses, but getting your heart broken. I feel like this experience is something you can only understand if you have experienced it. It changes you forever. Very true. And it doesn't matter what kind of heartbreak. I'm not, pigeonholing it here. Heartbreak is heartbreak. It affects everyone differently, and it can be devastating. Getting tickled by a zebra. Okay. A life of travel. That would be cool. Manipulating stepmoms. Having to dumb down for certain crowds if you want to have a stress-free free time. Yeah. Yeah. Prison. Ooh. Endometriosis. A potential birth defect found during pregnancy. Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible. Being raised by a parent with untreated mental illness, especially when they appear 100% normal to outsiders. It was really something, in retrospect, to have seen my parents cycle through DID personas and then have them drop completely into pleasant adult persona when answering a phone call. Wow. And able to fit in any generation. Major surgeries, losing a child. Long-term hospital stay. I was in for over 6 months waiting for multiple organ transplants, sharing a room with a loud, crazy, inconsiderate people and their visitors. It was a gastrointestinal ward, so all we had were these buckets on the toilets to help them check our output. One woman's daughter started yelling down the hall how terrible I am that her mother has to deal with my urine on the floor. That sent me. Made it sound like I pissed the floor when I had it in a container. Wouldn't stop crying. They switched my room, and one of the aides told me I was leaving because they made me cry. The upside was that I got to know everyone from the porters to the kitchen crew, and made it more fun. I tried to be a good patient and not complain, but it destroyed me mentally. It was near the children's hospital, and I could see the kids playing outside. Talking with a nurse about it, that I learned that a lot of parents left their kids and never came back because they couldn't deal with it. I wish I'd never heard that. Yeah, I've heard that from many people. I don't understand how you could do that. I don't. Okay. Having a parent with low emotional intelligence. My mom can spin any situation to make herself the victim, cannot empathize with me or my siblings' financial or mental health issues, and whips up on my dad to get him as upset as she can about her petty grievances. When my long-term girlfriend cheated on me and then broke up with me, the very first thing she said to me was, "Do you think it's because you don't have a good job?" Oh, then she continued talking about it for years. Oh, talking with the girlfriend for years. When my brother, exhausted from the passive aggression, moved away from our hometown, my mom didn't talk to him for like a year, all because he had the audacity to seek out a better life and higher pay. My sister's weight yo-yos, so quite a bit from year to year, and my mom cannot resist making snide comments about it, both behind her back and to her face. This is coming from a woman who has never eaten meat and vegetables, has zero idea what it's like to crave unhealthy foods. Despite all this, she can be incredibly selfless and supportive. though, so it's more like her change-ups pitch rather than normal rotation. Ooh. How broken and corrupt the U.S. judicial system is. Most people can't afford lawyers because of their exuberant hourly rates. Yeah. Having a psychiatrist tell you that he won't stop your father from abusing you and instead wants you to teach you how to like it. I hope no one else in the world can truly understand what that is like. Sadly, I know I'm probably wrong about the hope. That's horrible. What the hell? Oh my God. Having to care for a parent with dementia. I'm going to leave it right there because that's hitting pretty close to home. It's tough. It's heartbreaking, but it has to be done. So bless you, guys. Anyone who's dealing with anything on this list, I hope it gets better. And I hope you take care of yourself. Thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time.